Welcome to the March Board of Directors monthly meeting. Very nice to see you today. We have one or two new faces, I think. That's always good to see. And we're looking forward to a fairly not brief, but not a long meeting today. We'll see how that turns out. And I always make a few comments at the beginning of the meetings. And as I was thinking about what comments I would like to make, I started looking back over the last 12 months and looking at some of the things that we took care of during the 12 months. And I didn't find a whole lot that I wanted to talk about. We've already finished a lot of those things. It's a job accomplished, and I don't know that we need to go back through that. So I was looking at something more current, which is always easy to find those things because they're what's in front of us right now. So briefly, I would like to kind of recap a meeting that I attended 3 weeks ago with the Breakfast Club. And I've got a little bit of an overlap between some of you in here and Breakfast Club members that attended that meeting. But what I was trying to do was say the state of our association currently is very strong, and it's been consistent. We've seen positive growth for the last 3 years. Excuse me. And we wanted, and I was looking back to, I was trying to think, okay, who's responsible for that? And we talked about our committee members, the commitment that they make, and the accomplishments that they were able to bring to the association. We talked about the membership and how diverse and how strong our membership is. You can just about think of anything you want to, and we've got somebody in Pecan that has expertise in that or that had experience in their jobs, and they share that ability with the association. And if you look at the membership, that's the broadest base. You look at the committee members and chairman, it's a little bit more narrow focus. And then you look at the staff that Michael heads, and there's a great group of people that do a fantastic job for us there. And then at the top, I guess, or maybe the smaller group of all of those I've mentioned, the board of directors. And we make a contribution, but we can't find, or I didn't find, that there were any of those groups that you could point at and say, there's the reason for our good success in running our organization. But you put all of them together, and we're a force to be reckoned with. So I thought that was important to say again, even though it's 3 weeks ago I said it, but a lot of those people who were at Breakfast Club aren't here today. In current issues, probably the most current is our annual meeting on Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning, where we will announce 3 new directors, and we'll also say sayonara to 3 other directors, and go through the process of changing the makeup of our board again. But we've got a fine group of people that are going to be staying on to be added to the ones that come in, and we'll have another excellent board this next year, I'm sure. One thing, in addition to the new directors that will be announced, we'll also find out the results of our election having to do with a couple of things. One is an amendment to our bylaws. Another is the creation of a fitness and wellness center which in both cases, there's been a lot of work that's been put into that, especially the last 3 months, but going back for quite some ways on both of them. So we're looking forward to that. And then I need to say a few thank yous. I mentioned our staff, and Michael is the head of that. He also has some excellent assistants. Mary Smith is his executive assistant, and Janice Shevsky is the controller. And we appreciate all the work that y'all have done over the past 12 months, or going back further than that, really. And then I'd just like to say thank you to the other board members for giving me an opportunity to guide us through the last 12 months. That's probably a little stronger than I wanted to be, but anyhow, I appreciate it. We've had a great team, we've had a great effort, and I thank you very much. Okay, that's my comments for today, and now we'll go into the open session where we invite members to address the board and bring up anything they want to, basically. So I'll open it up now. Are there any members here today that would like to address the board? Got one. Yes, ma'am. Could you come over and go to the mic?
Oh boy, somebody's a lot taller than me. Well, my name's Judy Rose, and that's my husband, Stephen. And we've lived in Pecan for 3 years. It'll be 3 years next month, and absolutely love it. And I just want to say thank you to the board. Y'all do a wonderful job. Thank you to Mr. Bartholomew. We just love this place. My question is, first of all, we live on Ravenswood, and you all know our cell phone reception is so bad. So my question is, has there been any movement on trying to get a cell tower anywhere near where we can get better reception?
Michael?
Okay, I'll take that. A few years ago, AT&T came out and actually leased some space behind the grocery store from the Anthony's. And then a few months ago, they actually renewed that lease, but they have made no financial commitment to actually erect a cell phone tower. But they came in and they did an analysis of the best place to place the tower, and now it's just a matter of them be willing to spend the funds to put the tower in. But they have lease space already in Pecan, but it's not something that we could force them to do.
Right.
There is an app that you can put on your phone called Drop My Call. So every time you can't get through, just hit that, and that goes right to AT&T. And they told us the more complaints they get from Pecan, it will increase our chances of getting a cell phone tower.
Good to know.
But I will be working with the Anthony's to try to move that process along.
That would be wonderful. Thank you very much.
Michael, just repeat that information about Drop My Call.
Yeah, it's an app you can get at the App Store. Just download it to your phone anytime that you cannot. What's it called?
The one I use is Mark
My Spot.
Mark
Okay.
Spot, yeah.
Mark My Spot. Okay. Mark My Spot. So download the app, Mark My Spot, hit it when you can't get through, and that'll go right to AT&T.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for the comment. We've had a lot of those comments recently. The Breakfast Club and the prospective board members that are going to be elected. I don't think there was one of them that got up that didn't say something about AT&T and the reception. So it's worthwhile, and you know, I think it's important that the squeaky wheel is the one that's going to be getting attention. So every time your call is dropped or you have a problem with that, I would say, you know, make sure you make that report.
Mr. President, a comment, please. I suggest we go ahead and put a little spot in the columns early up in the parts that people look at with that note. I don't think we've done that yet. I haven't noticed it, have we, Michael?
No, we should do that, though.
But we ought to do that so that the neighborhood gets the message. And also on our Facebook site, maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Jakely? Yes, David?
I also wanted to interject that we also were attempting to get a foot in the door with Verizon for the same services. So, although we've had more negotiations with AT&T than we have Verizon, but Verizon steps up and wants to put a tower out here, and AT&T can jump all over that. Trying to work both ends.
Good point, thank you. Shirley?
Well, she's coming up. Let me just, I make a quick comment. I noticed that the lanes are striped, newly striped on the road from the West Circle into the clubhouse, and I'm hoping that that process continues. Daniel, thank you very much.
Yes, I agree. I would just like to make one more comment about the lack of cell phone service on Ravenswood. It concerns me that, especially in the low place where the campgrounds are, my phone is just dead every time I go through there. If somebody at the campgrounds had an emergency, they couldn't dial 911, and AT&T ought to know that.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
We actually have an emergency phone down at the campgrounds.
Oh, okay. I
It's a
didn't know
red
that.
phone, and you just pick it up, and it goes right to 911.
Where is it?
Mounted on the bathroom of the campground, right on the exterior of it, plainly visible. You push the button and it connects.
Okay, that might be something else good to put in the columns, because I didn't know that either, so that'd be good to know.
And we're also working on a hot spot at the campgrounds with one of our members, and we think we can get some coverage down there for cell phones in the very near future also.
Thank you again, Mrs. Rose. Let's see, we're going now to the approval of the minutes of our last board meeting. Mr. Jakely?
Mr. President, I make a motion that the minutes for the February 2nd, 2017 meeting be approved as written.
Do I have a second to that? Thank you. Any other comments about the minutes? All right, all of those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Carries. All right, the next item on our agenda are the financials, and I'm going to introduce Dan Kreis, our treasurer, to address that.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to yield the floor to Mr. Bartholomew, who will give the report for the financials through the month ending January 31st, 2017, which represents the first quarter of the year, fiscal year.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Mr. President, let's take a look at our numbers for, as Mr. Treasurer said, the first quarter of the year. We have some trends that we need to talk about developing in revenues. We're up to 3,005 members, which is 5 more than we started the year with, so we're plus 5 year to date. One of the trends that we're watching very closely, you can see communication revenue is down $5,500 and $10,000 year to date. That is all from advertising revenue, so we're seeing a decline in our ad revenues as more publications come into Granbury, so that is something that we're going to have to be attuned to. Food and beverage missed their plan by $8,500 and year to date by $11,000. And it's interesting to note that most of the decline, well, all the decline is in private parties. We're $20,000 behind in private parties, but $10,000 over our budget in member dining. So it's good to see more members are coming into the club. We just need to work on the catering side a little bit. For the month, golf had a small miss to plan, $1,200. Our merchandise sales were down by about $1,000, but year to date, you can see they're $2,291 ahead of the plan and $4,400 and $7,500 ahead of prior year. Marina is a slow month for the marina pretty much across all product lines, gasoline, grocery sales, cooking, and slip revenue. Since then, we've rented out quite a few slips, so we'll see that number increasing as we go through the year. PPLA and PPCC, we have a couple of trends also we need to talk about. We had 15 transfer fees for the month, but we only had one renter. So we missed for the month. and we only have 3 rentals for the whole year, so that's why we're down a little bit in PPOA and CC. Roads and Grounds, it was a good month for transfer fees. We had 15 transfer fees this month. But again, year-to-date, we're down a little bit, and building permits and also road maintenance fees are down. So those 2 areas right there that relate to building activity, you can see compared to prior year, they're down quite a bit. If you look at this number over here, I'm sorry, right over here, $13,000. So at any rate, those are the 3 trends that we're really watching right now, the ad revenue and the building of new homes and the transfer of existing homes. Inn had a good month, $1,700 ahead of the plan, $2,300 behind their plan year-to-date. Security and ACC, commercial sticker revenue was strong this month, so they exceeded their plan by $2,900, $1,700 year-to-date. Stables is now full, but at this point in time we had 19 horses. We now are up to a full 20 horses. And a small miss in sports and rec on revenue. So we did have a miss on revenues for the month, $14,207. And our revenues for the year are down to budget, $41,747. Our cost of goods sold, though, we're all in line, 42% food cost. Golf was right at 82%, and marina was down, obviously, because of the lack of gasoline sales. So cost of goods sales are fine both for the month and year-to-date. Moving on to labor, for the month we spent $3,700 more on labor compared to our budget, $9,200 year-to-date, and let's take a look at some of our areas. Food and beverage, that's an area that we're working on with John and the chef and the staff to reduce that labor burden down. Some of this related to the a la carte dining. A la carte dining costs more than private parties because you don't really know how many people are coming in, how much to prepare for. But we are working on becoming a little bit more efficient in food and beverage and getting those labor costs down just a little bit. Most of the other departments, Marina year-to-date is down $1,300. We're also working with them on some scheduling. If you have sales that are down, you want to obviously have the labor go down with it. Most of the other departments, Inn is over a little bit. That's due to housekeeping. We're trying to spend a little bit more money on keeping the clubhouse clean, so we're spending some more money for our housekeepers, both for the month and year-to-date. Security and ACC, $1,400 down for the month, $4,600 year-to-date, and that is due to vacations, and we had quite a few people out sick. And unlike other departments, if somebody is out sick, obviously that person has to be replaced, especially at the gates. Sports and rec and facilities maintenance are fine, so as I said a few minutes ago, we missed plan by $3,700 for the month, $9,200 year-to-date after 3 months. On our expenses, we did spend $24,000 less this month on expenses, $70,000 year-to-date. Golf department for the month, you see a $9,700 miss to plan. That was all due to applications on our greens, mainly pesticide applications, fertilizer applications, along with some irrigation repairs. And we're now $4,400 or $4,600 behind plan on golf, but the year is still young. We'll be able to make that up as we go through the year. Membership services, with all the ballots that we had to print, we did spend more in membership services this month, $2,287, and year-to-date, $2,600. And then the only other department that has exceeded their expense budget this month is facilities maintenance. We just had some more repairs to both our buildings and our facilities, both for the month and year-to-date. If you take it to the bottom line or the net income line, this month we're at negative $13,531, positive variance of $13,897. And year-to-date, we have $9,039 positive net income on a plan of negative $19,029 for a positive $28,068 after 3 months of the year. Moving on to our forecast, this is on the left-hand side. would be 3 months of actual, and then forecast through the end of the year compared to our budget. And as I mentioned, roads and grounds is a trend that we have to watch closely. I did talk to somebody at the membership orientation Monday, and they had just bought a lot at Park Place, so that's good to see. So, and I believe they've sold a few more lots in the new development and also in the landing. So hopefully when spring kicks in, that's going to help us out in the long run. PPLA and CC is doing fine, as is security. These are the year-end numbers as we expect to see them. With the trends we have in communications, we expect about an $8,900 miss when it's all said and done. Food and beverage, we expect to lose $40,000. As we sit here today, obviously we're going to be working on some programs to bridge that gap to our budget, very aggressive budget, on $1.375 million in revenues. We had about a $3,800 miss to plan when it's all said and done at the end of the year, and member services $2,673. Stables, we're full now, so we expect the year to end positive at the stables with a little net income, $2,300. Sports and rec, we'll spend right at $375,000 on sports and rec. That is all the PAC activities, including our tennis operations. Facilities maintenance, we'll spend a couple $1,000s more than our budget. Pro Shop appears that they will exceed their budget by about $4,900. And the golf course, as the trends are right now, we're trending to spend $618,000 on a plan of $615,000. But again, there's still 9 months left to go. In the marina, we're forecasting a $7,000 miss to plan in the marina. So our year-end forecast right now is a small miss to plan of $454. But again, we have quite a long ways to go in our fiscal year. Moving on to our capital expenditure report, you can see some of our in-progress capital expenditures there. We're about to start number 1 up on the list, telephone system and towers. And this is quite an involved process that involves our wireless network. We use a wireless network for all of our remote facilities, and we've lost line of sight in a couple of areas, most notably the marina. As houses have built up and trees have gotten taller, we no longer have line of sight, and the marina's gone down quite a few times. And so what we're going to do is install, we've already got approval from the BOA, install new equipment on BOA's tower so we can shoot down to the marina and also have connectivity, basically internet connectivity at the marina, which is a huge problem right now. Also will involve a new telephone system. Our telephone system's at least 20 years old, so it's time to replace that. Pro Shop stairs and patio, that project is nearing completion. We need to put the railing on and it'll be about finished. Marina floating dock, the bids came in much higher than expected, so in all probability we will forego that project this year and look for other alternatives. 19th hole in Pro Shop HVAC is finished. LiDAR topography is in the process of being finished. We're probably about a month away. The flyover has taken place, and now our engineering firm is analyzing the data and getting our deliverables back to us. Westover diversion, that's a rather extensive drainage project near Westover Drive. That is for the engineering fees. Estimated cost of that project is $195,000, and you'll hear more about that as we go through the year. Cart paths are in on number 9 and 7, so we installed some new cart paths. Dump truck and an archery range lift station that will be put in-house so that there'll be restrooms at the archery range building. Completed this year firewall for our servers and our IT systems. Believe it or not, we get intrusions on a daily basis, people trying to get into our network. We have a great firewall. Dave does a great job to make sure that we are not compromised. Excavator, golf carts are in. If you haven't seen the golf carts, you might want to take a look at those. The new hotel mattresses are also in and being used by our guests. Lake repair number 9 is completed, as is a utility cart and the marina fryer. Taking a look at our capital fund as of January 31st, $1.879 million in that fund. Let's take a look at how we're going to end the year. Beginning fund balance, 1.798. A little over $1 million going into the fund, and slightly more than that going out, 1.1 million, but still a very healthy balance at the end of the year of $1.693 million. And our road and drainage fund currently has $921,000 in it, and you can see our year-end forecast there is $279,000. Two major projects I just talked about, the Westover Diversion Project and also the road from 167 all the way to the bridge. The estimates from both the engineer and the contractors are coming in much higher than expected, and so that's going to be a very costly project. But we're going back into that road with, instead of a 4-inch base, an 8-inch base with a 4-inch asphalt overlay. Usually we do less than that, but because it's such a well-used road and anybody that's traveled over it in the recent future, you can just tell it's a little bumpy. So we'll end the year with $279,556 at the end of this fiscal year in our road and drainage fund. And Mr. Treasurer, Mr. President, that concludes my financial report for January 31st.
Mr. President, I have a question on one item. The telephone system, David, it's in progress. When do you expect that to be finished?
The finish date is unknown. It should be starting very quickly because we do have some time constraints that we're trying to make. Our agreement with BRA will expire March the 17th. So we have to focus on the tower stuff first, but we can meet the terms and conditions of that agreement that we made with the BRA. So the phone system will be sort of secondary to the towers, and of course the towers need to be in place and functional in order to complete the phone connectivity. But I expect to have that stuff in place and working within 30 days.
Okay. And when we have the new telephone system, that's the system that will allow us to basically talk to the gate to bring our guests in without a direct telephone conversation, but with an email input?
I expect to have both of those within 30 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's go into the new business for the month. And the first item on here that we have is the ratification of e-vote on ACE 161014. And I'd like to hear a motion on that.
Microphone.
I would like to move that we ratify that. You want to go ahead and say something first?
No, let's see. You did the second, Ms. Franson? Okay, yes, go right ahead.
Well, I move that we ratify the e-vote that we did on ACE 16-10-14, which involves the telephone and tower project.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we've got a second. Any additional discussion on that particular item?
We have already spoken about this a few minutes ago, but this is going to upgrade our wireless system to give us communication within the building, to the marina, and to also some of our external locations. And it's an overdue system, replacement of a 24-year-old system with a more modern wireless system. And David's already working on getting that thing up and running.
Thank you, Mr. Carnes. Any additional comments or questions? All right, I'll call for a vote for the ratification of the e-vote ACE 161014. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed by the same sign? That's unanimous. The next item is committee management recommendations requiring board action. The first item is DCR CR 1701-001 to expand the role of nominating committee to a year-round committee. Do I hear a motion to approve that DCR?
Mr. President, I move that we approve CR-17-01-001 to establish a year-round nominating committee.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kleiss. Is there any additional discussion?
Yes, I'd like to just talk about this briefly. The nominating committee has always been a part of our election process. It's in our bylaws. It's established by bylaws, Article 6, Section 7, that establishes a committee of 6 members and 1 board member. And the committee needs to be established at least 102 days, I believe, before the election takes place. And in the past, the committee really has, the role has changed, and this year's committee really went out and did a fabulous job and just got really behind the concept of working with members year-round to get them interested in running for the board. And so with their enthusiasm, and I brought this to the board to talk about making this a year-round committee, where this committee will go into meetings, talk about being a board member, committee members. They will go and talk with people out in the community and try to get them involved in going to committee activities so that early on, maybe they're just kind of thinking about being it, but they'll be educated about what it means to be on the board here at Pecan. So I'm excited about this new committee.
Thank you, Ms. Franzen. Any other comments?
Just a question. Is there anything in our bylaws that prohibits the conduct of an election any time other than the March election? If we needed a membership vote,
We could hold a special.
we can hold a special election any time during the year.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this DCR in a second. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of passing DCR CR 1701-001, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. The next item is DCR PL 02002 to standardize elements common to all committee resolutions. I know some people have been working diligently for the last few months to come up with this particular item. So I'll ask for a motion for passing this.
Mr. President, I'd like to, I move that the board approve PL-17-02-002 to establish a document change request for a common format for our committee resolutions.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Jakely, thank you very much. You have additional information, Ms. Please.
As you mentioned, Tom Bazan and myself over the past few months have worked very hard to go through all the current committee resolutions, and what we found is that they were very different. Some of them were written back in the 70s, and some were written last year. And so in order to make all of our committee resolutions alike in terms of certain content, we have put together a common template, format template, that moving forward, all committee resolutions will follow this template, and the existing committee resolutions will be moved into this template format if the board approves it.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments, questions? All right, I'll ask for a vote on DCR PL 1702-002. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. That passes. All right, we go to the next DCR that's presented for approval, and that's PL.
Mr. President, could I back you up just a minute? I should have said something. I
Sure.
just want to thank Ms. Franson and Mr. Bizzoni, when you look at committee resolutions, there's a lot of work there. I mean, a ton of work, and I just want to thank both of them for the effort that they put in on bringing this particular DCR up and cleaning that whole, I'll call it mess, but cleaning that whole mound of paperwork up. It's not finished yet, but they're in the process, and it's a great project.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Good point, John. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is DCR PL 1702-004. And do I have a motion for that particular DCR?
Yeah, yes, Mr. President. This DCR, the purpose of this was to expand the new amenity process which currently exists in the capital asset policy, to expand it to also include replacement and modification types project. I move that we table this motion today because there has been a subsequent review by the Board of Directors, and they made some comments that we would like to incorporate in this document to some additional improvements to the process. So I'd like to table this at this meeting.
All right, sir. Is there a second to that?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. DCR PL 1702-004 will be tabled until the additional information is gathered and included in the document.
You need a vote on that, too. You need to vote. You got a motion second, we need to vote.
Okay. All right. So we have a vote to table, and we have a second to that, and we need to take a vote on it. So all of those in favor of tabling this DCR, please raise your right hands. Got ahead of me. Thank you very much. And that DCR passes as well. Oh, I'll make a comment, by the way, on the amount of effort, following on what John was saying, and that's the amount of effort that's gone into redesigning these processes to take care of capital asset changes. And Dan and his long-range planning committee and others in the organization have spent untold hours, I believe, discussing this. And they'll come along and they'll hit a bump and finally get over that and go along and a little bit longer and think, oh well, we're there. But that's not necessarily the case, and thank you very much for your diligence in pursuing that.
Well, as you say, there's Tom Bizzone among them, but it's been a total committee effort.
Very good. Thank you. The next item is DCR PL 1702-005, and this is for modification of the ACE form. Do I have a motion for passing that?
Mr. President, I move that the board approve PL-17-02-005. And this is to make an addition to the ACE form.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second for that?
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Green. I appreciate it. Any further discussion?
Yes, just as a point of clarification, several months ago, the board approved the revised ACE. It used to be called AFE form to be an ACE because it's a capital expenditure. And at that time, we also added and approved allowing a 10% contingency. But what was not included on the form was a reason for the contingency to go 10%. So that has been added to the form so that the board will know why a 10% contingency is being asked.
All right, thank you. Any additional comments?
I might add, this is an ACE of a form now.
It's a what of a form?
It's an ACE form now.
All right, thank you very much.
Not a tennis term, right?
We have a first and a second and additional discussion and explanation of this particular DCR. I now call for a vote. All those in favor of passing this, raise your right hand. And I believe that's unanimous, and that one passes as well. The last item on committee management recommendations requiring board action has to do with ACE 17-1006, which was tabled last meeting. And we need to bring that back up again. I'll, after additional investigation, we wanted to put it back into the agenda, and I'll ask for a motion to accomplish that.
Yeah, Mr. President, ACE 17-10-06 is for $15,000 for a trellis that is going to be the centerpiece of the West Circle improvement. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this ACE.
All right, sir, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion. Oops, sorry, Bob. I'll yield to Bob.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Kamen, thank you for the second. Is there additional background information that would be helpful for us?
Yeah, I have a comment here, Mr. President. I'd like to just make everyone aware here that this is a $15,000 expenditure, but as I look at the capital reserve fund at the end of January, the balance is at $1.879 million. So I'm sure we can afford beautifying the pecan plantation to the tune of $15,000 without, too much. Normally, this would be something we'd probably question, but in the current environment, I'm sure we have the funds to support this, and I think we should.
All right, sir, thank you.
I think also with the full time horizon of this project, there's going to be an awful lot of sweat equity and volunteer efforts by the Green Thumb Garden Club. So, they're going to supplement a lot of the work effort for this.
Good point.
I want to put on the record how we appreciate the Garden Club and the work that they do. And at our Wednesday meeting, it was pointed out that after the Garden Club completed the front circle, they had a professional landscaper come in and estimate the value of that project at $150,000, which essentially was mostly sweat equity that was brought to us by that organization. And so these are folks that really do a good job for us, and we really appreciate that, and I'd like to put that in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Kamen. Another point to make is the reason we tabled this particular motion last meeting was to get additional information so that we'd have a better idea of what we're going to be doing in the future. So we asked the Garden Club chairman to come in and give us a kind of an overview of what they anticipate having, and it's not to the extent that the front circle was decorated, but it'll be something that's easily maintainable. There will be flowers, there will be shrubs, but there won't be, I don't think, to the extent, at least their current plans will not be to the extent that we see on the front circle. But it will still be something that the membership can be proud of. So
I'd like to comment also. If you look around the Granbury area, you can see that the place is really developing. There's a new addition starting out to the across from Day Cordova, Rolling Hills Ranch. They're already working on their front entrance in several directions, side entrance. There's going to be a new addition up across from the Ford area, 2,800 homes. And we're going to sort of be in the competition in a way for people to look for a community. We still have amenities that those communities won't have, but I think it behooves us to make the entrance, whichever way you come in, really beautiful. We've done that with the front and enhancing the West Circle, and part of the improvement is to no longer call it the back circle, but the West Circle will go along towards advancing the way our community appears to people when they're coming in to look for housing.
Thank you, Mr. Jakely. All good comments. Any additional comments or questions? All right, we'll ask for a vote on this. All of those in favor of passing ACE 171006 for the West Circle improvements, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much, and that's unanimous and passed. Next item on our agenda is the management report. Mr. Bartholomew, would you like to give that?
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to remind everybody it's committee sign-up time. The committee sheets will be available this Saturday at the annual meeting, along with the resolutions for each committee. So if you want to get a little feel of what the committee does, please read the resolution. Those committee sheets will be up until the March 26th. And during the April board meeting, the board will approve the new chairs. The chairs will form their committees in April, and the new committees will have their first meeting in May. As Mr. President said, committees are a vital part of the organization, and we would encourage everybody to get involved in one of our committees. A few events coming up. Karaoke's turned out to be quite the hit with DJ Keith Casterman in the back. And we're having a Lucky Clover karaoke here in the ballroom featuring food and drinks and specials to fit the occasion on St. Patty's Day. So that should be quite an event. It's going to be spring break pretty soon, so I believe that's on the 13th, March 13th through the 17th. The daily activities at the PAC for your kids or grandkids, so look in the Columns magazine for more information. We have a new club that's being formed, Pecan Fly Fishermen, for education, conservation, and all things regarding fly fishing. So if you've never tried it before, come to one of the meetings. The meetings will be the last Tuesday of the month at the PAC at 6:30. And speaking of fish, starting Monday, we will be offering catfish at the marina. So that is why we have purchased a new fryer recently. So we will have catfish sandwiches and also a catfish platter. And so come down Monday and sample that. The Friends of Pooch Plantation are back to giving free pet tags, so stop by the PAC, fill it out. Lost pets are one of the major issues that we have in Pecan, and the tags will actually be delivered to your home free of charge. One of the biggest events for the Women's Club each year is the Boot Scootin' Dinner Dance. That'll take place on Saturday, March 25th. The event will feature a steak dinner, silent auction, big tex raffle, and a boots buckle raffle to raise money for area charities. That group does a tremendous job supporting our area charities, along with Pecan Plantation Food and Beverage Department and the wonderful holiday decorations that we all enjoyed during last holiday season. Following the dinner, there will be dancing starting at 7 by the 92nd Roadhouse Band, so it should be a fun event for all. A couple of Save the Event dates coming up in April. One of our biggest events, we had, I believe, 500 kids last year at the Kids Easter Egg Hunt, April 15th at the PAC. Great opportunity to have the grandkids out for that. Easter Buffet the next day at the club on April 16th. Seating's on the half hour. That is one of our busiest days of the year, so make your reservations early if you want to come up and enjoy Easter Buffet. The PPOA grad sale, we moved back 1 week because of the Easter holidays, so that will be on April 22nd, with a members-only sale on April 21st. And the marina, we're having a Marina Day Family Fest on April 29th. Come and look at some boat displays, including kayaks and canoes, food and fun for the whole family, and also a trade among each other, fishing rods, reels, and lures, and that sort of thing, everything related to fishing. So should be a fun day at the marina. And finally, just want to remind everybody, we are going to have quarterly evening board meetings. The next one will take place next month on April 6th. Following the board meeting, we will have a town hall meeting, so mark your calendars for that. Our board meeting next April will be at 6 o'clock. And Mr. President, that concludes my management report for this month.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Still have a busy schedule in Pecan Plantation.
Lots going on.
Very good. Let's see, we have no presentations or appeals today. And unless there's additional information or discussion, Mr. Kamen?
Yes, Doug, I wanted to acknowledge it. I know that you had made some remarks about how you felt about the board. And I'd like to, for the folks that are here that may not be at the Saturday meeting, I'd like to tell you how much we appreciated your leadership and the work of the current board, Dan Krise and John Jacob. We had a consensus board this year. Sometimes it's difficult to do each year when we get 3 new members, but this is where the membership sees the motions getting passed, but they don't see the sausage being made, and that gets done at our Monday meetings, which your leadership and the participation of John and Dan were so important to us. So I just want to make sure that for those here in this audience, you hear that and how much we appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Kamen. Thank you. One comment I would make based on that is the sooner you can get the new board members melded into your group, the quicker you're going to come to a consensus, I think. So good luck to you. Anything else? Mr. Miller, would you like to address the group?
Just a point of interest, what Michael was talking about, we approved 5 new house starts at ACC a while ago. 5 new.
That's good. Thank you. That's a good trend.
Good. Yeah, but where? Jim, where? All over the community or just at Park Place? Where are the 5?
They're scattered all over.
Scattered, okay.
Did one of them include, or one or more include Park Place?
No, I don't think there were any approved in there today.
Well, that's good because we
one new one under construction. Well, all of them are new, but there's one over on the back side.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Looks like it's going to be an interesting house.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Appreciate that. Any other comments or questions? All right, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.